outside.
Yeah, my son-in-law has.
Could go the other way though. It might drop back down to $7.
Listen, I
Yeah, we're right.
I know.
I mean, it could.
Yeah, in 2 years.
It won't this year.
No.
You know, one of the guys there.
Here, I got the price below.
What to do until
All right, I'm
you
gonna call the meeting to order at 6 o'clock. We have a quorum. If you will look at the minutes from last meeting, I will entertain a motion to approve those.
Motion to approve.
I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Minutes are approved. Okay. Any public comments? Hearing none, we'll move on to agenda item 4A, Ken DeHart subdivision.
That means me. Y'all have a copy? I can spread out the big copies of it.
Scale copy.
5 of them. Worked out good. Ken, Mr. DeHart's here with me tonight. He's just dividing off 2 tracks. He wants to build 2 duplexes on this property there, so he's made 2 tracks and it was zoned and meets all the rules for it.
Where's this?
So about City Park.
Yeah.
So I got a couple of questions for you. One may be for y'all. And it's just housekeeping. I mean, it'd just be a matter of making a modification. If the lot width minimum at the building site, I think is 75 feet on an A2.
75 feet.
So we should adjust the setbacks to not include the area once you're either behind or in front of where the lot's 75 foot wide. Does that make sense? Are you following what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. So, and all that does, it keeps, I feel you're not going to put your structure where the lot's less than 75 foot wide, but down the road, somebody could do an addition, add onto the house, add an accessory structure and put a structure in the portion of the lot that's not the proper lot width. And then the other question I had, and I'd like some feedback from everybody here on this. We've been round and round over the past couple of years about sidewalks, and we've enforced it on major subdivision, but not minor stuff where there's no other sidewalks close. This is our very first scenario that I know of where there's a minor subdivision on an existing street that directly abuts a property that has sidewalks, which is the city park. So I think on that one, I'd be asking for any feedback from the other board members and Todd and Stacy, if because it abuts and adjoins a property that has existing sidewalks, would this be a scenario where we would want sidewalks along the public road?
I don't think I would request them because the sidewalks in the public park are for walking and not transportation for walkers to go from one parcel to another.
But,
So-
but they could be long-term. I mean, that's just from a long-term planning
Isn't this-
standpoint.
Isn't this in with the, one that we had in the works with the state? On the opposite, was it on that side or the opposite side?
It went out on
And
that,
Jason, it would just,
on that
I'm just
side.
thinking long-term, not, because now it would be going to nowhere.
Yeah.
that grant
Bridge to
didn't
nowhere
pan out.
sidewalks.
But basically,
yes,
they
there
are
are
today.
plans
We're good
for
at that.
Leave it to the public.
Now,
multi-use
now, what's
paths
it,
from
sidewalks are
all the
not a
way
big
from the
deal. That's
park
not a
to
huge
town,
expense to, I
to
mean, the
main
lots are
highway.
very narrow.
But you're talking about sidewalks just on lot 1 and 2, but not on lot 3, because it's existing.
Yeah, I mean, or 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, just, and more or less, this is the first scenario that I know of where we've had a minor plat on a property that has an existing street. Somebody had an adjoining property to that they wanted to develop it without, along the public road, would we require sidewalks or not?
So I'm looking at the overhead right now, the sidewalks at the walking trail.
It comes
So-
pretty close to the road.
So you would go from sidewalk to asphalt,
And then back to sidewalk.
no, and then back to grass, and then back to, and then if the city decided to put a sidewalk in, so there's no, he would have 100.
Well, extend it to the asphalt. I mean, that'd be the city, if the city bought 5 or 10
No, what I'm
foot
saying is
concrete.
that the city's concrete doesn't go over to the asphalt. Here's
Yeah,
where
that's
here's where Mr. DeHart's would go.
Yeah, you would just come to here, walk up and then get back on the trail. And again, I'm more or less asking for feedback.
Yeah.
Because
I
I respect both ways because it's not, the other way is going to nowhere. But my opinion is whatever we decide to do is going to set a precedent for the next guy that has a public sidewalk subdivision on one side or a city park. You're not abutting a subdivision. I'm just,
If this was only one lot, would we make this man put in a sidewalk just in front of his house?
if the adjoining property had a sidewalk, I think I would go with the flow, what everybody else wants to do. Because I could see it either way. I mean, if I were simply and only because it adjoins a property with a sidewalk would be the only.
Of course,
Yeah.
it would be nice if Depot Street had sidewalks, because we've had someone who got hit on Depot Street, walking down the middle of the road.
And
They were-
now the benefit to these two single family homes or duplexes
I'll keep my mouth
is
shut.
not where my mindset's going. It's, Mr. Herman Vegas property, adjoining you. If that were ever developed into a subdivision and they were required to have sidewalks,
And there's gonna be
then
a gap.
yours would be the connectivity between that subdivision and the city park.
But I don't know if you can make him put sidewalks on lot 3 on an existing parcel where there's already a house.
I think
So
you
say
could.
Sidewalk, no sidewalk, sidewalk.
I think you could because you're dividing it. But again, I think that's
It's gonna be 5, there will be 5 residents, right?
two
You're like
duplexes.
two
and-
duplexes. So it's 5 residents.
Yes.
Yeah, so, I mean, I haven't looked at this specific issue. I don't think there's anything in the existing subregs that would let us apply this to this plat
Okay.
for a minor. Now, but if this is something that you want to require moving forward, we can look at amending the subregs to address the situation to say, okay, any subdivision that's, abutting, or even if, into Marion's point, if you wanted to think long-term and say, we'd like to have sidewalks down these streets, Depot and maybe some others, to put that in place so that you could require it for future subdivisions. But
So
if you want to defer it, I can look, but right now, I don't think we've got anything in the regs that could require him to.
is our regulation five or more, or did we go back?
I think it's 5 or more.
It's 5 or more? Okay.
And
And again, the only reason I was bringing it up is because it adjoins property with
Of course,
sidewalks.
he could voluntarily do it, but I don't think it's something we can require for plat approval.
Okay.
Well, that answers it.
And then what were you saying about the setbacks?
No, it's just a little bit of housekeeping. The setback should stop where the lot width stops being the minimum requirement.
Okay,
So
so
like-
you mean
like
the
lot-
dotted line on the back should
Yeah,
stop
lot
where the-
one, it should be pulled forward to wherever the lot width is
You can't
75.
build back there because it's not wide enough
Correct,
anyway.
correct, yeah. But if it's shown on the plat, somebody down the road, not the first guy, somebody down the road could say, well, y'all showed that as buildable area inside the building envelope on the plat.
See, I interpret that different.
Okay,
I interpreted it has to be 75 feet at the setback line. And then once you get deeper, it doesn't necessarily have to be, but it's good to be.
see, but in Marshall County, not city, it was explained to me that if you had a lot that went like that, you can only build where the lot meets the lot width requirement. So in A1, if your lot width requirement is 125 and your lot goes 50 to house, my interpretation was you could only put your structure where the lot width meets the minimum.
What about,
That's what Don made us do.
Yeah, that's
on
what-
that line
yeah.
on McBride that I consulted you about. That's what we had to do on that.
well, what about if it's a garage? You've
I think
already
that-
built a house and now you got the garage in the back?
I'd say no. I'd say all structures must be within, that would be my interpretation. But as a contractor, I lean more towards err on the side of caution. So you don't build something and have to take it down. And that may be.
Yeah, it
Maybe
could
it's
depend
not.
on the specific wording. I don't, for subdivision purposes, I don't think the lot width has to be there. Now, when you go to build, of course, you're gonna have to, whatever structure you put there, you gotta comply with the setbacks from the line at that point, a straight line from the line, so you're gonna have to be so many feet off, but I don't know that necessarily means, I need to find the language here. Sometimes it does say lot width, sometimes it'll say from the right of way, sometimes it'll say from the front, you know.
Well, I think lot 1 and 2 definitely have the 75-foot lot width if you build at the front lot line. But if you put a shotgun house in there, along and skinny, let's say you stack your duplexes like this, and had a structure 30 by, go ahead.
So I've already drawn, I have the floor plan already drawn out.
Okay.
And in communicating with Michael, we designed a lot specifically so that it would fit. So there's no, and I'm not really wanting to sell them. It's like a residual income that
Gotcha.
I'm trying to
Okay.
develop. So I'm certainly not, but I could sell it, but-
Which again, if that needs to be cleaned up, I don't think, personally, I wouldn't deny the plan. I would just, make a recommendation subject to a correction, if that's what it means, Stacy.
I had a question about, there's a note on the plat about the water line easement is for the existing water lines for the remaining lands, but I don't see an easement actually called out. And I just wanna make sure, I don't think we want the water line that's serving the existing house, we wanna make sure there's separate services for each, and I just wanna
Yeah, you're gonna have to have,
Sure.
clarify that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
does the city make them have 5 water meters there or there's 3?
No, I think it's per door. Yeah, I think it'd be 5. You got 1. I think you got 1 water meter. You'd have to obtain 4 more.
So
I
that
don't
note
know.
just,
And the new,
Is that right, Mark?
That's correct.
and the new sewer capacity fee would be 2 and 2, $10,000 on lot 1 and $10,000 on lot 2.
Yes, sir. Okay.
But yeah, that was just, and that's the interpretation of the lot width, where the building line stops. I just always interpreted that you can only build anywhere the lot is, if it's 75 foot, anywhere it's 75 foot wide. And then the only other question I had, and y'all help me if I remember this right, what did we decide which would apply to lot 1 and 2 only? Would he be required to go underground secondary from the transformer pole to the structures? And if so, does it need to be noted on the plat?
Where is the closest pole?
I don't see it drawn on here, but I know there's power serving the existing house. Do you know where your transformer pole is on is there main lines running through the yard or are they across the road?
I think they're
It goes down the road.
north side.
So they're on his side of the road. So we've been back and forth several times, I think, on the underground utilities and where there's existing power lines. I don't know if we strongly suggest and recommend underground from the pole to the structure or if it's an actual requirement. I think the last time it came up, we actually required, because we did have the rule of 5, it only applied to 5 lots or more. But I think we revisited at some point in the past and just said all new developments can be underground only. I think.
But if there is a pole, let's say here on the corner of lot 1,
I'm
then
with you.
he can go from that pole
Yes.
under the ground.
Yes, correct.
Let's say the pole is on the right-hand side of lot 3.
Mhm.
Then what are you saying?
He owns all 3 lots. I think he could go underground from that pole back to the,
Back, he's got to go underground from here to 2 to 1.
or if Duck River would set him another inline pole where the lines are already overhead and then from
He
there.
could put a pole right here. Okay.
There's already an overhead line at the road, so it would just be the secondary. But I think the last discussion we had on that, we required, or I think we had said we were going to require that on all divisions of property. But I
You
don't.
see where those
Yeah, I think
poles are, that they cross the
know that
road
was-
over.
Was it discussed and not approved?
Well, I know that was assuming
Looks
after
like we
what
have
happened.
poles on.
And on Union Road.
There are poles
Yeah,
that go
but
through our yard.
We'd have to look.
I know
at the
there's
record and see
one
if that was actually-
Right here on the park, on the park side.
Todd, do you remember if we requested or required that on all new building lots or just,
I'm trying to
Major
remember the last time we discussed it. Was it was one that like right in town, like on Broad?
I think it was one on, after you.
Broadview or-
Maybe Broadview?
I think.
I think it was Ryan's over there, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was
Yeah.
right.
Is this a
I think
pole?
we required it, yeah.
Is that a pole right here?
I think it is, yeah.
And then it skips across to here and then here and then
I
here?
think so, yeah. So he would,
They'd probably come across the street and set a pole on the lot line.
They were going
yeah,
from
they
here.
put a
so-
lift pole, yeah, we wouldn't make you go under the road, I mean, that's,
No,
No.
we haven't talked about more.
no. In the secondary, your electrician's not gonna charge you much more for that. But I know there's a pole going to the house, I mean, there has to be, so there could
It's
be,
probably that pole.
I can't see it.
There's one in the back of this property.
There's one at the rear of the property.
There's one right there.
Okay, so that may be what services so that possibly services the house maybe. I don't remember off the top of my head.
Well, say would Duck River set a pole here and then bring it, or would they come here and set another one?
I think that would be up to Duck River,
Yeah.
but
That's not our call there.
Yeah. But at least from the transformer pole to the house, I think we had passed the rule,
I'm pretty sure.
It was on the one we did for Ryan.
which wouldn't apply to the existing house. You wouldn't have to redo anything on that, and all we would require on that is just a note on the plat, saying that all electric services serving the structure will be underground. And that was really all.
Any other?
Well, I mean, before we approve this or defer it, are we deferring this for this gentleman to make him go back and put notes on there about the setbacks and the electric?
I think we could approve it
Approve
subject to those corrections, and then
We've done that in the past.
mark, or after the corrections are made.
Then the water and sewer can sign off.
I think so, yeah. I mean, that we've done that before. The only other question I had would be, is lot 3,
It's me.
very, very creative, so kudos to you. Because it widens out like a pie shape, we would not consider that a flag lot, I don't think, because a flag lot is typically a long skinny strip and then a big square at the back. And I think the lot to depth ratio works because you have so much width.
That's what I was gonna say, you have to look at the lot that.
I interpret the lot depth to width would work because you have so much width. I think it would be an average of what the lot width is here and here averaged together. I think the lot width to depth works as long as we wouldn't consider that a flag. And I personally wouldn't, because I would call it an irregular shaped lot, not necessarily a flag lot. It would.
Yeah, I think the calculation is gonna dictate whether it's flag or not.
Yeah, and I think the lot width to depth ratio is 1 to 5.
1 to 4.
Is it 1 to 4? So that's 257. Yeah, it meets the 1 to 4 because it would be an average. So I think as long as it wouldn't be considered a flag lot, I think it would be fine on the lot width to depth.
You wanna make a motion?
So we're making a motion, changing the building envelope to where it doesn't go back any farther than where the.
If the commission's interpretation is the same as mine on that.
So I look, there's no definition for building line. The lot width requirement 75 feet from the building line, which I think the normal interpretation of that is the front building.
The front of the house.
Yeah. So I would not suggest imposing an additional restriction on
Okay.
where you could build. Again, he's going to be subject to the set. I don't think there's anything in the ordinance that really supports that.
So
It just says building lot width at the building line.
what do you interpret as the building line? The front of the house?
Yeah.
Okay. Not necessarily the whole depth of the house.
No.
Okay. And see, in the county, they interpreted it.
Yeah, again, I looked for definitions that might help, but if there wasn't anything that defined it, yeah, again, I have seen it where, it has to be throughout the whole envelope, but there's not anything specific. So I think the common, and you can tell me, I think the common definition of building line would be the front line.
I interpret building line as any portion of the house. I mean, that's just, but again, I err on the side of caution because I've had to tear down a thing or two that I built. It's not fun.
That'll make you go shop.
Yes, yeah. Yes, so I'm good with that. So I think the only notation or correction would be about the underground, just putting a plat note, maybe right under the Duck River blanket easement, just making a notation that the properties will be serviced by underground electricity. And then
Do we need a note on the?
you had a note about the utilities?
I just wanted to make sure, like I said, they mention a water line easement, but it's not called out. And I just want to make sure it's clear that each would require an individual service. Because the note that's on
So
there.
is the note that's on there to cover you in case the existing water service line cuts across these other lots? Would you be okay? Do you know where your existing water meter is?
Yeah, it's right here.
So I don't think you would, yeah, I don't think,
It doesn't encroach on either of these lots here.
Are you, Stacy, are you talking about the generic existing utility easement?
no, I think it's the last note, the water line easement.
Oh.
Yeah, like I
okay.
said, that's not clear what its meaning is. It says existing water line easement shown, and there's not one called out.
Is there
And
a
it says
water
it's
line
for
going
the
to somebody else's
remaining
property?
lands and for the installation.
There's a water
of the
line.
main-
Well, I
On this
can,
edge,
I can tell you,
goes to the fire hydrant,
Yeah.
right on that corner.
that's a cut and paste there.
Okay, and they come from somebody else's plat?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was gonna ask you
See
who the
that?
number is. Okay, so I'd make a motion, we approve the plat, subject to cleaning up the typo,
And
and
underground.
and
like,
adding a note for the underground electric. And I think that's it, unless anybody else has any other restrictions or comments.
I have a motion. I have a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
There you go.
Any opposition?
Quick and easy. You can have that fixed in 10
Motion
minutes.
I can.
Item 4B, Holy Smoke Site Plan.
I promise I'm not running for office, but since this is my first time here.
I hadn't met you. I've seen your cards at the register's office.
Thank you.
You haven't got a card, but
Now, we
No,
come
I got
over
you.
here.
I got you on speed dial.
You'll come over here?
Yeah.
All right.
Here we
Don't
go.
be giving them your number. Now we'll be able to get you.
Appreciate it. So,
Brian, would you like to tell us what?
and before I go, I'm sorry. We'll fix this.
Yep.
I'll get Ken to sign and he will bring it to who?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
To Mark.
I
And
know.
where do you sit, Mark?
I'm here now.
You sit in this office?
Yep.
Okay.
And they'll call me.
All right. Thank y'all
Thank
very
you.
much.
Bye.
All right, Brian.
Well, we started out in what, 500 square foot, and was 900 square foot, now we're wanting to double that. Basically, it's 1,800 square foot. I've got that much drawn up right there. On the exterior, we're just gonna brick the whole thing, and I've got the cedar direct, get them to come out, trim it up, make it look good. Main focus is gonna be mainly the drive-through. You'll see there's not that many extra parking spots, but with everything going on in the world right now, I couldn't afford to put 100 seats in and then get shut down or something again.
I think the drive-through is a great idea.
So I would just, I guess the question, it's okay if we do a site plan and then design review can come later. They don't have to be simultaneously. Is that
Well,
okay?
and I had quite a few comments. I've kind of sent some to Mark on this. Like, for one thing, this doesn't show the whole boundary of the property, so I kind of want to see that. But my biggest question was, and this is where I wasn't sure, the setback, even though all of this, the neighbors are zoned B2, they are affect that setback, especially on that north side, where we're showing the paving going right up. We don't have any type of buffer or anything like that. They are currently residential uses.
I think pavement contract can go right to the property line.
Well, if you don't have to have a landscape buffer. But it's zoned, I think it's commercially zoned property, it's just being used.
For residential, so that's
Residential.
where I wasn't sure on the ruling on that.
Well, to the north of him, if I got the parcel right, it's not being used as residential.
Is it the doctor, the nut house?
To that house.
Yeah, I think Chad said it's fixed to come down anyway.
It is supposed to come down very soon.
There's a structure there, but it hadn't been lived in
Okay.
as long as I can remember.
No,
Put it
it's
that
been
way.
30
And
plus
this
years.
nut owns it, so therefore it is the nut house.
And it's B2, right?
It's
It is
B2,
B2.
yeah.
So that, like I said, I wasn't sure just. 'cause
There is a
it's-
residence there, but I would,
It's
residence
not
would
been
be,
lived in my
yeah,
lifetime.
not habitable in its current state. Yeah. But to answer my question, is it okay to approve a site plan with subject to design review kind of?
I mean, yeah, that's it. This would be more of a concept site plan.
Yeah.
Obviously,
Okay.
there's lots of design factors, things like that, that would have to be
And
looked at. You know, you'd have to look at just, this is a lot of additional paving, things like
The
that.
water
There's
runoff,
storm
yeah.
requirements there and all that. That's
you
still
know,
have to
did
be.
y'all have plans
Yeah.
for a little detention basin?
That's all it is, pretty much up each side of the here.
So just right here,
This whole, yeah, because I got the other.
right here, a little
Yeah, it should
grassy
be,
strip, okay,
I believe it was
a
something
little
right
bit back
here.
here.
Yep.
Okay,
Because I was wanting to get the lot on Broadview for parking.
which that's all, you know, St. John can run all the calculations.
By the
and
time
stuff.
we,
Yeah, I mean,
let
that's
the water
it. It's
run
just
off
a
on
lot.
that, then there wouldn't be nowhere to park.
You know, a lot of details that are lack, you know, even the screening of the dumpsters, things like that are required that we need a full set of development plans, but as an overall concept site,
So if we took action on it tonight, it would just be conceptually,
I think that's what you would
Yeah,
have to do.
it's not a site plan that he can go get a permit and start work on until you have the other engineering details.
Okay, yeah, I mean, St. John, he was gonna do all that. I said, well, let me just talk to him first, see,
Yeah.
see exactly everything I have to have.
well, and I noticed one, again, just minor housekeeping, he did put a notation on the plat that the front setback is 20 feet. And I believe on the state route, I think we increased it to 50 feet anywhere along 31A or 99. Back when,
Mhm.
they were doing that deal, right next to Stony Brook up there, I think we increased the minimum and that's just for future planning in case they ever widen the road, which to the structure, I don't think that would affect parking or asphalt. You got more than 50 foot anyway. It's just if you ever add on, it just clean it up on the plat. The front setback requirement on the main road is 50 foot from the lot line. And again,
Oh, he's got over 50.
yeah, you probably got 70 foot, just a matter of fixing it on
You
the,
just talking about just notating it on.
yeah, just,
I sent that list to Ryan today, of things that would probably be required on a site plan
gotcha.
that I gotten from Stacy.
As for conceptual, I say.
I mean, I think conceptually, it's the,
I don't know
I mean,
if
it's
it's
got proper
on
zoning.
do we?
I don't think so.
typically for site plan.
We can just give you a thumbs up,
Yeah.
informal thumbs up.
This is what we're looking at, we need feedback.
Yeah, I mean, I guess my main thing is I just hate to pay St. John all that money for just
That's right.
30 by 60
I hear you.
brick building.
Yeah.
With a couple of windows in it. But, you know, we'll do what we got to do to get it.
But the good thing is, I think on the north, because
Yeah.
that's not being used as a residence at the
Which
moment.
I'll have, depending on what they do there, since that's commercial, the back and up the other side, we'll have some kind of greenery and shrubs.
And I don't know
All
if we,
that, but,
I don't know if we've required this with anybody in the past, but we've suggested it, and so far everybody's complied. Assuming Miss Nutt's place does eventually get used as a commercial facility, are you okay with providing connectivity to the lot line? It looks like right now you may be stopping your asphalt 5 foot off the lot line.
well, I think that's,
Just for runoff
retaining,
or,
yeah, for catching water.
okay.
But you're
If-
talking about from
Just-
going from flow into one to the other.
Just to keep the congestion off the highway, you know, it would more or less just look like a little driveway entrance.
Oh, yeah, I think it ought to be that way all,
Traffic off the road, you know, off the main highway going from
Yeah.
one, and whatever they build there, you'll get their customers. When the Walgreens goes in there, they'll come in.
I can fill their parking lot.
Yeah, you can borrow their parking lot. That's what you already do, ain't it? But yeah, I think with the stuff Mark's already emailed over and Stacy being in the loop with, anything from St. John, conceptually a thumbs up from me.
It'll look good when we're done.
And with site plan or even after site plan, we do have with St. John can get our regs on it.
Excited about drive-through.
Design review criteria just means you gotta have a floor plan showing elevations and list on there what your finish is gonna be, brick, trimmed out with cedar like you was telling me earlier. Some type of renderings to look at. We don't allow vinyl siding, don't allow, just painted cement block, that's not allowed, but there's a whole list of approved materials.
I don't want to price our lines, it's just cheap brick, it wouldn't be anything else.
Right now it is, yeah, bricks as cheap as wood for the first time ever. Vinyl siding's going up every week too.
All right, well, I'll get the rest of all that together and
Come see us next month.
I'll see you next month.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Is there any other bid?
I do have one thing that came up just today, and I'll just pull this email up. This is from the group that is looking to subdivide the property.
Bob Gallagher's?
Yes, off
Okay.
Morningside. And he mentioned to me that the meeting in January, that the board had requested that they bring something else back that would comply as a,
Like a preliminary?
preliminary plat, and I'll let you read through that. And, my response is I didn't know what we could do tonight, since I didn't receive the plat
Then you can get it in, submit it in time.
until today, but I would, ask y'all what, how
I'd make
y'all
a
want
motion,
me
we
to
defer it.
proceed.
I'd make a motion to defer it till the April meeting.
I have a motion to defer this till the April meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion of that?
The only thing I would say on this is just for this one and future, if they don't submit it for the 15th,
It's just automatic.
you really shouldn't even, I think go ahead and vote, defer, that's fine. But technically, the clock starts to run after it's submitted, and you can only, so I wouldn't want to get in a situation where you wanted to defer it next month.
Because
You should still be able to defer it next month. I would just make that on the record.
let me withdraw my motion.
Because you can't defer it
Would you like
twice.
to yours to
Let
be?
me withdraw.
Oh, I
Thank
guess
you.
I would throw mine too.
All right. Would you like to say that? That's just a requirement?
I would-
That would be.
I would like for Mark to tell them they missed the deadline for submittal for March. Yeah. Is that better?
Yeah, that's better.
And all further, if they miss the deadline, automatic.
And then it'll be put on the agenda for first time next month.
Well, and I think that's moving forward, like you're saying, that's good practice for anything coming in. Cause
Well, they need to have
y'all,
time to
y'all,
review
yeah, y'all
it.
need time to review it.
Yeah.
And so do we, you know, just looking at it day of is not, sometimes we can miss something.
And we've held pretty strict to that rule,
Yep.
over time. I, require everyone to have it in. Everybody knows it always falls on a Sunday.
So there might be 1 day grace period, that's about it.
Okay. So we don't need to vote on that, that's just automatic, okay? Any other business? Entertain a motion to adjourn. I have a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Perfect.
There we go. I wanted to ask Sam, and he